It's the off season. So what's that mean for folks like myself and other content creators in the college sports space? It means what? Yeah, it's conference realignment season, baby. Conference realignment talk never really stops, at least not permanently. And in this episode of Couz's Corner, I'm going to explain why it should matter to you. Why you, as a West Virginia fan, or heck, even a team that's not a West Virginia, even if you don't cheer for West Virginia, why should conference realignment matter to you, and why you should be paying attention to what's going on around the college sports landscape. We're going to have that conversation. We're going to do it right now. What is up, and welcome into this episode of Couz's Corner, your home for top shelf college sports content around the West Virginia Mountaineers and the Big 12 and conference realignment. Why should conference realignment matter to you, especially if you're a West Virginia fan? Well, there's a couple of reasons, and then there are what I'll call sub-reasons off of that reason. And the first one is pretty simple. It affects what teams you play, what teams the team you cheer for. When you go to games and buy tickets, what teams are going to be on the field playing the team you cheer for? When you flip on the television, what team is going to be lined up against the team you cheer for? That's why it matters. Let's just keep it simple. Let's go back to when the Big East started to collapse and the ACC started picking off Big 12 teams. Big East teams. Teams like Boston College and Syracuse started leaving the Big East. But that changed who you had to play. First, it was, Boston College, Syracuse, Miami, boom, leave the Big East. Then Virginia Tech leaves the Big East. They got replaced by UConn, USF, and some other schools. So what happened then? It changed who West Virginia had to play. Instead of playing games against Miami and Syracuse and Boston College, you were playing games against UConn and USF and Cincinnati. It matters. If you're a fan, it matters. That's the simple reason. And what teams are you competing with for a conference championship? Are you competing against Miami or are you competing against Cincinnati? And I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm just using that as an actual real-life example. Then when West Virginia was not able to get into the ACC with some of their peers, they got invited and joined the Big 12, thankfully. Thanks to the Big 12 for accepting West Virginia and inviting West Virginia. It's been a good move for West Virginia so far. Kept them aboard, kept them part of the power conference structure, at least up to this point. It's been a good fit, not geographically, but in other ways. But they went from playing UConn and USF and Rutgers and name all the other schools in the Big East. Then they started playing what? Or playing who? Oklahoma and Texas Tech and Kansas State and Kansas, Iowa State, yada, 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 right? It mattered. Also affected how far fans had to travel to games. That's a piece of the puzzle. It all mattered. That's really the obvious reason why conference realignment matters. And then even look more closer to more recent memory. Texas and Oklahoma leave the Big 12. What happens? We thought the Big 12 was going to collapse, and West Virginia and other teams would be stuck out with nowhere to go. But they survive. They add in teams from the AAC and BYU. Again, different teams on your schedule. And in more recent memory, the Pac-12 collapses. They add the four corner schools of the Pac. Now you're playing Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, and Arizona most years. So again, it affects the teams that are on your schedule. And we could see more things like that happen down the road if the ACC does happen to implode. Maybe the Big 12 absorbs some ACC teams. Heck, it's possible. The ACC takes some Big 12 teams to backfill. I don't think that's going to happen, but it is a possibility. Then, and if West Virginia, regardless, depending on how that happens, West Virginia could have different teams on their schedule, potentially. And there's a very, 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 very long shot chance that West Virginia at some point lands in a Power 2. That definitely changes who's on your schedule. But again, that's probably not happening, which kind of dovetails into what the second reason is. Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident are fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. The second reason conference realignment matters, if you're a West Virginia fan, will WVU remain a big, quote, big time program? Can they keep their seat at the power conference table? Does the SEC and the Big Ten decide to separate and do their own thing without the teams in the Big 12, including West Virginia? Or even if the Big 12 does get included, does the financial gap and the power gap become so great that teams like West Virginia and others can't compete anymore? Is that what happens? That's why realignment matters. As the way it's looking right now, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. As a West Virginia fan, I'm nervous. West Virginia, anytime there's been realignment, West Virginia has always figured out a way to survive and keep their seat playing big boy college sports, big time college sports, power conference college sports, whatever you want to call it. They've always been able to keep their seat at that table. I'm a lot less confident now than I was the last time this happened. Because when you look at the reasons that decisions are being made as to what teams get included, a lot of it is a lot of the reasons are stuff that West Virginia has no control over as a university or as an athletic department. For example, let's just go back to when West Virginia was not able to get into the ACC. The reason I've heard multiple reasons, but the one that keeps popped up the most was academics. West Virginia just had a different academic standards, different academic alignment, I guess you could call it, than the teams in the ACC. West Virginia is ranked very low compared to the other ACC schools in graduation rates, in the U.S. News and World Report rankings and other rankings, a lot of these things. And it doesn't mean West Virginia is a bad school or there are idiots graduating from WVU. That's not at all what it means. What it means is West Virginia's goal is to educate as many Appalachians as possible, as many people in the state of West Virginia as possible. And because it's a low-income state and a low-income area, they're trying to give people an opportunity. You do that by keeping costs low and by keeping your acceptance rates a little less stringent. What does that do? It hurts your graduation rates because a lot of those people who enter school don't graduate. And that hurts your overall ranking. There have been over 20 Rhodes Scholars graduate from West Virginia University, a lot of doctors, a lot of lawyers. They have a great law school. As a matter of fact, the sponsor, Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner, that you just heard from, he graduated from WVU Law School. He's an alum of West Virginia University. People like Oliver Luck have graduated from WVU. A lot of very, very successful people in sports and in non-sports, just in life in general. It's a good school. Their hospital is growing. They do a lot of research. Their research has grown by over 200% over the last few years. They're an R1 research school now, doing over $200 million a year in research. A lot of great things happen at West Virginia, but at the end of the day, schools like the Big Ten schools and a lot of schools in the ACC, most of them actually, do not look at West Virginia as a peer institution. They're just different. It's just different. Now, I think it's a bunch of baloney, a bunch of crap, a bunch of garbage. It's elitism. It's looking down your nose at people, thinking you're better than others just because you have I think it's a lot of that. I think it's stereotypes, and I think a lot of that happens in those circles. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's reality. Whether we like it or not, it's reality. And because of West Virginia's academic missions and because of the way they're structured, they're never going to be ranked very high academically, I don't think, which means they won't get invited to the Big Ten. It kept them out of the ACC. And I even think it might affect them, along with other reasons, from ever getting into the SEC. Because if you look at the SEC, seems to be paying more attention to those types of things now. A lot of the last several schools they've invited are a lot higher ranked academically than some of the schools that were already in the SEC. They're also focusing on a lot of other things like markets, which is another thing West Virginia has no control over. They can't control how many people live in the state. They can't control the economic situation in the state of West Virginia. The university nor the athletic department have any control over any of that. But that stuff matters because it matters to the TV networks. And it matters to the TV networks because what? Because it matters to the advertisers. West Virginia is a state with low population, an aging population, and a low income population for the most part, which means what? Advertisers, you're limiting the audience for your advertisers. So advertisers who are advertising to a very young demographic may not want to advertise in the state of West Virginia. If you're what I'll call a advertiser for a high-end product, you may not want to advertise that product in the state of West Virginia because the majority of the population can't afford it anyway. But those are the types of advertisers that might be spending the most money with networks. So that's who networks want to attract, which means what? They don't want a ton of teams like West Virginia in their conferences that they are putting games on for. That's a fact. Just is. Now, West Virginia's got a lot of great things going for it as a brand. It's a popular brand. It's a well-known brand. It's a national brand. Not a huge national brand, but it's probably a top 30 national brand, I would say. Top 15 all-time in wins in football, top 25 all-time in wins in men's basketball. Very passionate fan base. Have been good historically and competitive in both major sports. A lot going for it. But unfortunately, the things that are outside of its control are a lot of the things that people use to make decisions. And that's, school presidents are making these decisions as well. I mentioned the academic piece. They care about those things. They care about what circles they run in, who they hang out with. How do they align academically so that they can share professors and so that they can do what, I don't know. I don't know what all goes on behind the scenes with this, but that stuff matters to the school presidents. And at the end of the day, those are the people making the final decisions when it comes to realignment. And I'm just, as a fan of West Virginia, I am just not confident unless complete chaos breaks out and we get to like 48 or 60 team conferences. I'm not even sure 48 would be enough unless if the Big Ten and SEC ever completely separate themselves from the other two power conferences and everybody else, unless they go to like 60 teams, I'm not sure West Virginia makes the cut. I'll just be honest with you because of all the things I just mentioned, not because they can't win. Not because they don't have a passionate fan base. Their TV viewership numbers are typically solid, not huge, but solid. But all the other things I just mentioned are working against them. I mean, my gosh, UVA is now being talked about as one of the next potential candidates for the SEC. UVA, they are an absolute dumpster fire in college football, but they might get into SEC over West Virginia. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But why? Because they can align themselves with the state of North Carolina, with UNC, who's also targeted, and because they're located in the state of Virginia, which is a market the SEC wants to be in, because it has a higher population, because you've got cities like Richmond, and you've got cities like Norfolk, and you've got cities like you've got areas up in Northern Virginia, Charlottesville. That stuff matters. Advertisers can make a lot of money and spend a lot of money in those areas. So the TV networks might be willing to accept them in. And the colleges are facing, enrollment apocalypse is what it's being called. You're going to see a huge decline in the amount of college students across the country. So if you get into those states as a conference, into states with growing populations, with a growing not only population in general, but populations of college age people, you have a greater chance of getting those people into your university. So, for example, if you're Auburn and you can fly the Auburn logo in the state of North Carolina or the state of Virginia, there's a better chance you get students from those states into your university. That's why, and academics again plays a piece. Both of those schools, very highly ranked academic public institutions. Both are flagships, which the SEC likes. Now, West Virginia is a flagship. So I might even do a separate video on reasons West Virginia could potentially get into the SEC at some point, but that's a whole different video. But my theory is West Virginia is likely, if there's a P2 breakaway, I don't think West Virginia is included, number one. And two, another big concern is, will West Virginia, or I'm sorry, will the Big 12 remain a power league with West Virginia in it? I don't see the Big 12 kicking West Virginia out or anything, and I don't see West Virginia leaving it unless they're able to get in to the P2, which, again, I doubt it's going to happen. So can the Big 12 keep their seat at the power conference table? And even if they do, with the money gap being the way it is, and now the power gap going to be the way it is, can the Big 12 even keep up? Can they even compete? Yes, I know about the House settlement, but there's still going to be third-party NIL money, and we all know lawsuits are going to come. So will the House settlement even hold up long-term? Who knows? But outside of a Super League being formed, or West Virginia somehow by some miracle getting into the P2, I don't see them keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak. That's why conference realignment matters to me, because I care where my team ends up, and I want my team to keep their seat at the big boy table. And like I mentioned in the beginning, who they play every year and every week matters, because I'm cheering for them and I'm watching the games and I'm attending the games. So that matters. Why does conference realignment matter to you? Or why does it not matter to you? You let me know in the comment section. Also, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you like this video. I want to give a quick shout out to my paid VIP channel members of this episode. If you want to be a paid VIP member, there's a join button below or a join button over at my channel homepage. You can click it as well. But the random shout outs of this video are Al Walker, Dane the Surveyor, West Virginia Wildman 82, Hellbilly, and Appalachia Africa Twin. Thank them all for their support, for helping keep the lights on. Speaking of keeping the lights on, I mentioned Cats Counter, Stone Street, and Buckner earlier. Also want to give a shout out to my other sponsor, Appalachia Digital. They designed the brand new website myself and Jonathan Martin are working on over at WVSportsChat.com. Go check it out, WVSportsChat.com. Appalachia Digital designed it. They did a great job. They can design a website for you as well. Or if you have a site and want to get it found more on Google, they can help with that too. Go to AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. Let them know I sent you and see how they can help you today, because they are very good at what they do. And they're also, especially if you own a business in the Appalachian region, they'd love to help you, because that's one of their missions, is to help more small businesses and more businesses in the Appalachian region of this great country. So go check them out today, AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. Thank them and Cats Counter, Stone Street, and Buckner for helping keep the lights on. If you like, comment, share with your friends, and subscribe, that also helps me keep the lights on. And those are all free. I really appreciate you watching or listening if you're listening on audio only. Thanks for the support. Oh, and by the way, if you are listening on audio only, do me a favor. Please drop a 5-star rating and also drop a comment. Let us know what you think about the show. We'd love to hear from you. I really appreciate you tuning in, however you tuned in. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf. God bless you. And Q Country Roads.